Hello, Flirties, and welcome to a brand new episode of Flirtations, a conversation I have for you today about a topic that gives some of y'all the ick, makes you squirm, makes you go, ew, gross. What is that? Do I have to? How does it work? We're going to be talking about small talk today with the small talk doc, Dr. Connie Wang, how you can create those meaningful, in real life, in the moment conversations that can lead to connections, how you can bring the art of small talk into your flirts, into your dates to go beyond the surface. This is a skill that I want you practicing in your everyday life, and by the end of this episode, you might be doing just that. All right, but before we get there, thank you. Thank you for tuning in, for listening, for streaming wherever you are in the world, or perhaps watching on YouTube. Yes, you can watch all of these conversations now on YouTube. Full video there for you. Please rate, review, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, it helps me so much to grow the show and spread the energy of connection, the energy of the flirt all over the world. All right, let's do this, y'all, and get into the full conversation with Dr. Connie Wang. Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, we're diving into a topic that gives many of y'all the ick. It's small talk. Maybe you dread it, maybe you wonder what the point even is, or maybe you just want to know how to turn casual conversations into real connections. To help us out, we're joined by Dr. Connie Wang, a dentist, creator of the Just a Quick Pitch podcast, and known online as the Small Talk Doc. Dr. Wang has made it her mission to show that small talk isn't awkward filler. It's a learnable skill that can transform the way we date, flirt, and connect. In this episode, we'll explore how to shift your mindset around small talk, how to practice it in real life, and how to move from surface level chatter to meaningful connection without the pressure. We'll talk about small talk as a skill, how we can boost conversational confidence, and the little cues that make you instantly more engaging. We'll share ways to create engaging small talks, how to open them, close them, and strategies for asking questions that lead to connection. So, if you've ever wished small talk felt easier or even fun, this one, it's for you. Let's get into it, flirties, and meet Dr. Wang.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, on the show today, we welcome Dr. Connie Wang. Dr. Wang is not only an incredible dentist and creator of the Just a Quick Pinch podcast, she's also known as the Small Talk Doc on the internet. If you've ever had a hard time making small talk, wondering what the point is, maybe you get nervous or anxious and wonder how to make this small talk or flirting thing work, Dr. Wang is here today to help us create meaningful and engaging conversations that can transform our dating and social lives. Hi, Dr. Wang, and welcome to Flirtation.
Thank you so much for having me on. I am so excited to be on today.
I'm excited to chat with you again. Spoiler alert, flirties. I am on your podcast as well.
Yes, this is a double. This is actually date number 2, so it went really well the first time.
So good. We had to do a part 2. I'm really happy to be on your podcast. Just a quick pinch talking about, surprise, no surprise, flirting. My favorite thing in the whole wide world. So as we get to know you a little bit more today, I want to hear about your journey starting your content around small talk and why you're so passionate about helping healthcare providers just create that connection with their patients.
Yeah. So it's so funny because I feel like my whole life, my identity was like healthcare provider, right? Like I actually, fun fact, I became a pharmacist before I became a dentist first. I don't know how this happened. Well, so basically when I was in high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Yeah. And of course, being the child of Chinese immigrants, I had 3 options. I was either going to do something healthcare, do business, or do law or engineering or something. But I was just so bad at math. So those other realms were never an option for me. So I was all right, let me just the most affordable option for me back in the day was to become a pharmacist because I had a scholarship to go to pharmacy school basically.
Okay.
So halfway through that, I was I kind of want to want to just be with the people more, want to talk with them more. And it's funny because that's kind of like a subtle foreshadowing as to how I ended up in here today. So of course I didn't think like communications though or anything like that. Of course my next thought was like, okay, what's another thing? Dentistry.
Yeah.
Like it kind of worked out honestly, but the main reason why I chose it was I wanted to just be a little bit more engaged with my patients. At the time I was like in the pharmacy, you know, like counting the pills and like talking to my patients about all their medications. And to be honest, pharmacy is so much more than just counting pills and things like that. But I was craving something maybe more like physical and present with my patients. And so I ended up in dentistry. And then long story short, once I became a dentist, I realized like, wow, no one likes us. We are. And I totally get it. Wait, Ben, do you like the dentist? You do,
yes.
Right?
See, that was maybe like one of my hot takes is I actually really enjoy the dentist. I shared that we're a teeth family, like after a first date or something. My mom is not necessarily like, how did you feel? Did you like him? Did he have all of his teeth?
I love
the
that.
question. Yes.
That makes me so happy. But okay, honestly, you are the minority because most people, I realize like all day I'm talking to people who don't care what I have to say, don't want to hear what I have to say. And I understand because it's just a very complex type of field. People have trauma, like real trauma from dentistry.
Yeah.
And so what I realized through practicing was just, wow, like we are up against so much more than just like how to do a filling, which school teaches us. But the more important part is like, okay, how can I be a dentist that makes my patients feel heard, makes them feel seen? And like, that's the key actually to having my patients be healthy. Like I could be the best driller and filler and whatever in the world. But if I can't get that patient to understand why things are important and to come in and to see me and to feel like they had a good experience and feel proud of themselves for taking care of their teeth, then like, what am I really doing? Right. Then I'm just a tooth mechanic and I didn't want to be that.
Yeah, but you're making so many good points. And I feel like I've been lucky to have some great dentists. It's like when they welcome you in and you're going to sit in the chair, and this could even be how you're approaching a flirt or a first date. You're probably nervous. What's going to happen? Like you're not necessarily worried about getting a filling or a cavity on a first date, but like how is this going to go? Right? How am I going to feel? What's the other person going to say? There's a little bit of that unknown. And when someone is just creating some connection, they're being in the moment with you, having some conversation, asking you some questions, showing you some interest. I mean, in the dentist chair, you're not trying to get their number. I mean, you already have their number. You're not trying to
I actually have your number, your email, your address, your birthday,
your social security, maybe that, maybe everything. But there's still a lot of similarities. And that's one of the things, because I've had every single tooth has been filled, right? I've had the wisdom teeth out. I mean, growing up, I had awful teeth. I had a lot of problems with them. I had braces for many years. It's taken a long time to get the smile that I have today.
It was so worth it though, Ben. You have a beautiful smile. That's like one of the first things I noticed about you.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I continue to take care of it too, right?
Yes. And it's funny you mentioned that actually, because I think part of what attracted me to becoming like branding myself as the small talk doc is I realized like in 1 hour, when I'm like, let's say in 1 hour, I have one appointment with a patient to do their fillings, right? But I'm actually also popping in and out of the room periodically to do people's checkups. Like, let's say if I'm doing like anywhere from 3 to 5 checkups in an hour. Yeah. That means I'm on like 3 to 5 like speed dating dates in an hour too. And so it feels very similar. I'm like in the room. I'm like, okay, what are we up to this summer? Yeah. What do you like? Like, I really like to get to know someone before I'm like hopping in there, digging around someone's mouth. Right.
Yeah. Because think about how you feel when someone is showing you that kind of interest, that consideration. Could be on a date or in the dentist chair. You just start to maybe relax a little bit, get out of your head a little bit, and now be even more present with your answers, with being able to ask some questions back. And so as we get into this, like, let's start here. Why does small talk matter? Because I feel like it honestly gets a lot of hate and pushback.
Oh my God, Ben, I feel the same way. It makes me actually very sad when I hear it's usually like successful business people or celebs or someone like very aspirational being like, I don't like small talk. Like there's this misconception about small talk when really I think humans are hardwired. We are we are hardwired to connect, to talk to one another.
Yes.
Loneliness is one of like the biggest epidemics out there. They say loneliness can do the same amount of damage to your health as smoking like a pack of cigarettes a day.
Yeah.
Which is really crazy when you think about how much emphasis we put on eating right, exercising, all that stuff. But I just feel like as a society, we just need to open up our minds to the fact that conversation can be very therapeutic.
I agree.
When you were on my podcast, we were talking about how like you really came to your own from like flirting with the world and engaging with the world. And like what I like to say is small talk is actually a tool just for you to be part of the world and show up authentically as yourself. And I just think like you would be surprised. You would be really surprised how cheap and quick and effective small talk can be to, it's almost like therapy, just to connect with someone else, learn about someone else, and just feel connected.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, I feel like, because I remember this video I made as a stitch where there was this one creator who was saying, you know, like, I wish we could just be in a coffee shop and you're working on your computer, you're reading, you're writing, whatever, and just going up to someone, a complete stranger you've never seen, you don't know, and just being like, hey, what are you working on? What are you reading? What are you reading? Right?
Yes.
And I did the poll and some flirties were like, yes, please do this to me. Come up, start a conversation. Some flirties were like, do not ever do this. I am not interested. Leave me alone. Headphones on for a reason. And the majority of the answers I did give this as an option were kind of that time and place context. You know, maybe, perhaps, depending on where I'm at. I think this is a big one, like who might be initiating or creating the small talk. We may be more receptive to a small talk or a flirt if we find them attractive. Right?
Yes.
Or maybe
100%.
That would make us more nervous, but.
And you know what I have to say? I can so relate. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm like the world's best small talker because the thing is, it's almost like any skill in life. You're going to like put yourself out there. You're going to misstep, maybe like say something that embarrasses you. Like you don't have to be perfect with it. Right. But I think a lot of us get very caught up in the perception of like, well, what if I say the wrong thing? Yeah. Or like, what if and I think that's actually where a lot of sometimes our anxiety comes from when we're like, please don't approach me. Yeah. It's more of a feeling of like, well, then I'm going to say the wrong thing versus like, I think a good way to kind of shift your mindset. If you're someone who wants to be better at small talk and make more small talk, there's a quote I really like, which is, in order to be interesting, be interested.
Yes.
In other words, like be curious rather than critical.
Yes.
I just think if you look at the world through a lens of there's so much potential out there for me to meet someone, like this next person coming up to you could give you your dream job, could be the love of your life, could be your best friend. If you look at the world like that, there's just so much endless possibility.
Yes, it's that curiosity, that realm of possibility. I feel like people misunderstand what small talk is and think it's something that it's not. Where I think of like the classic scenario where you're in the elevator and you're just sort of standing there, like now you're pulling out your phone, you're sort of looking at your feet, looking around, doing everything to make eye contact. And then maybe you finally make some awkward eye contact and it's like, so, right? How's the weather? Hey, how are you? You know, just something kind of forced, just something to break perhaps that awkward silence. Is that small talk? Maybe. But I think really the point of small talk, like there's a reason the most successful people in the world have this skill. It's about information gathering. It's about being able to ask questions. It's about being able to make those micro connections. It's about being able to get out of your head. It's about being able to learn things. Like I think back in the day, you know, even not that long ago, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have the internet. Right. You wanted to learn about a job opportunity. You wanted to find out more about a potential school or a place you were going to move to or an event in your town, city, somewhere like that. You had to have conversations. You couldn't just pull out your phone and do a Google search or ask ChatGPT or check out a YouTube video for how to fix something. You had to know people. You had to make connections. You had to involve yourself in small talk to learn things. And 100%. I think we are doing ourselves a disservice by not cultivating the skill.
Yeah. And I think to add to your point too, a lot of people underestimate, like, let's say the person you're talking to in the elevator, let's say it doesn't lead to like your dream job or your love of your life or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think at the same time, there's just something so powerful about, let's say like a well-given compliment or something like that. Like think about the pep in your step it puts in your step, either when you give someone else a compliment or when someone else compliments you. I could, like, there's been so many people that have made my day where I never saw them again, but they said they like my shoes or my nails or something.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It makes such a big difference. Like, smiling is one of the greatest antidepressants in the world, right?
Yes.
Like, there's a reason connection is such an integral part of well-being and longevity. It's not just what we eat, exercise, like it's so much more. It's connection and community, which really gives us that quality of life.
Yes. And if I can add too, I think we're actually the effects of like small talk, connecting with strangers around you. It's so compounding because what I tend to see in my patients is like, let's say someone comes to me or just like a random person, not even my patients. Let's say I'm talking to someone and maybe they're feeling a little bit less confident than usual. I happen to work with a lot of patients where sometimes they'll open up and say things like, I've really let myself go. And what I notice is that when you start to show up and make a connection with someone, let's say I'm bonding with someone and we get them to come in more regularly for their cleanings. That translates a lot of times into like someone being more accountable to, let me just be a dentist for 2 seconds and then I swear the dentist talk is over.
Let's go.
I kind of love that flossing is almost like a self-help key because what I notice is when my patients start to floss more, they spend the extra minute on themselves. They start to think like, I am worthy of this extra minute. That translates to, I am worthy of the 10 minutes at the gym. I am worthy of the eating a healthy dinner. I've seen physical, absolute transformations in front of my eyes in the span of a couple months. Not even doing any dental work on them just because they start to show up more for themselves. And that's all because I think like when you start to bond with someone like that, like to go back to my point of like my patients are healthier if I'm better at connecting with them, it's all about like that connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were just talking about something. I mean, shout out to flossing as well.
Thank you.
Shout out to flossing. I could really be better at that, to be honest.
Wait, Ben, can I please send you one of my favorite flosses ever? Okay, I know I promised the last time was going to be the last floss talk. This is going to be the last floss talk. Okay, so one of my favorite flosses ever, I was their marketing intern and now I'm I'm always on the team as like a clinical consultant. But Cocoa Floss is my favorite floss ever. You need to try. I'm going to send you some, okay?
Is it made of coconuts?
It is a woven floss infused with coconut oil because coconut oil pulling is like so great for your gums. And like that's been touted as, such a great thing. And so it just helps. It's like literally a loofah for your smile, we call it.
I love that. That's very Ayurvedic. Yes.
Yes, it is.
It's one
send
of the
me your
greatest.
address after and I'll send some.
All right. We'll take that offline. I'll give you my social as well.
I'm just harvesting your information.
Fantastic. I'd rather give it to you than the internet anyway.
There we go.
But you were talking about a couple things. And one is, like, I think sometimes we go into these small talk situations, into the flirt with so much expectation, with so much pressure that it has to lead to, the number, to the date. That there has to be some goal or some objective that we want someone to like us. And I would say, none of that is the point. The point is connection first and foremost. And you offer this in your videos sometimes where you say small talk, it's tiny steps toward meaningful connection.
Yes, exactly. I actually, one analogy, one of the videos I made that I just think really hits the point home for most people is we all show up. This is an analogy that I got from a book. We all show up wanting to be the cathedral in a conversation. Cathedrals are beautiful, expansive. They're so impressive. We show up wanting to impress other people, right? But sometimes the most powerful thing you can be instead of the cathedral is be the building block, be the one brick that builds up to that. Together, you guys together will make the cathedral in your conversation. Yeah. But, and I mean, another quote, I'm just such a quote nerd. I love quotes. But one of my favorite quotes is the measure of self-assurance is how sincerely interested you are in someone else. The measure of insecurity is how much you try to impress someone else. And it goes back to our whole point about the real point is just to be present. And people always say in my comment section, there's always people being like, well, this only works if you're interested in someone. And I just like to say well, who gets to control whether or not you're interested in someone? You. It's like a mindset type of thing. Yeah.
Let's go there and talk about some of the skepticisms that people have about small talk, where one I feel like I hear is like how is this not manipulation, right? I think there's some people out there, some flirty, some daters listening that like, what's small talk? What's the point of this? Does someone want something from me? Are they trying to control me? Right? What do you got?
I think the really important thing there is obviously intent, but I think it goes with reading people. So I think part of small talk that most people don't realize, it's actually not the words you're saying, but it's the way that you are reading someone else. And so that helps you be perceptive as to whether or not someone is like willing to make that small talk. Like by all means, I do not want you guys like harassing people out there. There's a difference between harassment and small talk. But I think that there's a way where like, if you're talking to someone, you can read, I'm like, okay, do they like talking about like their family? Some people don't want to talk about their family. I'm like, all right, okay, no. Some people do though. Like we all have, I think a lot of us when we're in these, let's say flirting or social situations, we all are holding on to something that we would like to share with someone else. And so it's all about just reading like, okay, what is it that they would like to share? Like everyone gives certain subtle clues as to ask me more about this. And so one thing that I always like to say is a good way to make it, I guess, not so manipulative, but more just about the presence and the connection is focusing on your quality of conversations. So like a good example of this would be, let's say we're talking about the weather. Everyone's talking about the weather like randomly with someone, right? Rather than just letting the conversation die and just be like, oh, like how the weather, it's crazy. Am I right? That like inauthentic conversation feels manipulative and kind of icky. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
But a good way to talk about the weather in an authentic way is by asking them a good follow-up question. Like, oh, like what was the weather like where you're from? Like where you grew up? Like, have you always been used to like hot weather like this? Or have you always been used to like snowstorms like this? That's genuinely just getting to know someone. And for anyone who's receptive to that, they'll really respond to those deeper follow-up questions.
Yeah. Showing interest or being curious, even if it's just a small talk elevator situation, you can come back with these, I think statements, I feel statements, and really put yourself back at the center of the conversation too. If there's a way, maybe you need to feel like you got to declare a boundary. Your example of, maybe someone's bringing up your family and you don't want to talk about your family. Like that's okay as well. Not every small talk is going to be a situation that feels like something you really want to participate in. And I'm in that headspace sometimes too. Sometimes I'm that person in the coffee shop that, you know what?
Totally.
I'm really kind of in my feels today, or I'm in my head, or I'm just super hyper focused. I'm doing this thing, but I didn't necessarily want to be just at home, right? I need to get out and at least be around people, be around some energy. And so that's okay if sometimes you don't want to do small talk. That's all right.
It's just
even.
like, what's one thing too that I mentioned? It kind of goes back to the whole embarrassment thing. Like sometimes we equate negative emotions, whether it's like being turned down from a conversation or being embarrassed from a conversation, we equate that to being like a mistake or a consequence. And like, what I just want to say is like, that is just part of participating with the world and making conversation. So like, let's say you try talking to someone and, well, this is from the position of someone who's approaching someone. Let's say you try to talk to someone and they turn you down. They're not interested. Like, don't you worry. You did nothing wrong. It's really just a side effect. It's just something that happens when you engage with the world and have a conversation. Yes. You're going to put yourself out there and get shot down, but that's okay. And I just think as long as you just have like a healthy mindset of it, then it has no bearing on you.
Yes. And making this a practice for all the introverts out there, even the extroverted introverts, the social anxious members of society, the shy Libras, the shy gay Libras like me. Like none of this comes easy or natural. I feel like sometimes people have that kind of misunderstanding about me if maybe they catch just one video or one episode, or I'm a guest on a podcast and I don't get into a lot of my personal story. Like this has evolved over time. Like this is a skill that I've practiced because when I was just really struggling with my mental health, with depression and anxiety, which I still experience, the one thing that I felt like just always made a difference was some connection. Was small talk, right? I wasn't exactly even flirting or even dating. I just wasn't available or really ready for that, like to receive that kind of energy and attention that sometimes those flirts and dates might create. But just going out and bringing a lot of the principles and concepts that I talk about in flirting, bringing that into a small talk situation, even making that a practice of connection, making that a habit, just making eye contact, smiling, offering someone a compliment. It just, like you said earlier, it would make me feel better. It changed my energy, at least for a moment. And I think it did the same for the other person too. No agenda. I didn't want anything. There was no point. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm actually curious, like not to like flip the script, not to your question. I am very curious, what is like one of the best, or like what is like a compliment that you received that like really just like made you feel so good about yourself? Like I think that like to go, but you mentioned compliments. I just think they're so powerful, and there's something that happens to so many of us in passing, and they can really impact us. Like what's like a compliment that you've really liked?
It's when I feel like oftentimes we go towards those physical compliments or even those non-physical compliments. You know, maybe it's not about someone's body, but it could be about their clothes or their styling or tattoos, something like that that's physical but not exactly about their body.
It's like their choice.
More of a choice. Yes. But some of the compliments that have always stuck with me are those that are more about personality.
Yes.
When someone has said, wow, you seem like a really nice or kind person. You seem like you're really funny. You made me laugh today. Thanks for that. Like when someone compliments a trait, something about my personality that's more authentically maybe about me, it just, those stick with me because I'm like, oh, I just feel a little bit more seen. I mean, the compliments about like great mustache. I mean, that's never going to get old.
Right.
I'm never going to get tired of those.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The physical compliments are great as well. But when I just feel a little bit more, seen and understood.
Yeah. I think we all are dying to be seen. Like I love reading books about this, and I've learned something really interesting that humans, have you heard about mirror neurons?
Yes.
Okay, so we all have, for anyone who hasn't heard about this, we've all have mirror neurons. And like part of human behavior is we want to be mirrored back. So it's kind of like, you know, we all walk through this world trying to mirror other people, or a lot of us try to mirror other people. But what can happen is over time throughout the day, if you don't feel mirrored back, there's a theory that you build up something called mirror neuron deficit, like a lack of being mirrored. And that's why, like, over time, we build up to being very, like, if you've ever met someone who's very, maybe like defensive or very like the world is out to get me type of mentality, or very just like no one understands me type of mentality, the secret to kind of cracking that shell or peeling back the onion for someone like that is actually just mirroring them back and helping them feel seen, helping fill up that cup of feeling mirrored back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mirror neurons. All right. I might have to make a video about that.
Yes, please do. Wait, I also have another fun fact, actually.
Yes.
So have you ever like been really upset about something and you feel like you want to cry, but then you're okay. You're holding it all in. But then the second you talk to someone, they say like, hey, are you okay? That's when you start crying. Like once the thing is over and you thought you were done, once they're like, hey, are you okay? The water gates open. Has that happened to you?
Emotional release, 100%. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's because for the first time you feel mirrored back is because you're like, okay, someone mirrored back to me that like clearly something's wrong. So you feel like it's safe now to open up, because otherwise if you've had a bad day, but like no one's mirroring back to you that it's been a bad day, it's like, it's not safe for you to be like that yet. And like another situation, so my sister has toddlers, and she noticed that when they have a really hard day at school, they'll be really strong, but the second they get into the car, that's when they like break down. That's because you feel safe and mirrored back to like authentically express how you feel.
Yeah, this is interesting. So what part of or where do you think fear comes into all of this? This fear of vulnerability. I feel like that's part of the reason we might avoid small talk, is this fear of being seen. What if someone does get me? What if someone does see me? Right.
Well, you know what's so interesting is like humans tend to have, there's one specific fear that there's one specific fear that all humans have. And that is the fear of making the same mistake twice. It is an evolutionary fear that's like built in all of us because of course you touch a hot stove once, you don't want to touch it again, right?
Yeah.
I see it all the time with my patients. You had like one filling that really hurt. You don't want to do the filling again, right? It's just human nature.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of the fear of vulnerability is just maybe early on we had interactions where we just didn't feel safe to be ourselves. And so it all becomes a story we're telling ourselves. Like it's not safe to open up. It's not safe to show who you truly are because if you do, you get hurt.
Yeah. Okay. So part of small talk could be the practice of unlearning some of those habits and patterns, which, you know, a lot of what we're talking about here in small talk can mirror flirting and dating too. So maybe if you're not like super ready for the flirt or the date or just starting to dabble there, making small talk at the forefront of your just connection strategy, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's give the flirties now some tips. How they're going to create these conversations out in the world. We've been talking a lot about mindset. I feel like we always got to start there because there's going to be the flirties listening that are skeptical. I can't do this. I'm not good at this, right? What if I get it wrong? What if I'm awkward? I have a fear of being seen. I think we've addressed a fair number of those. So the transition here is improv. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm so glad you mentioned this, you guys. Improv is such an amazing thing that it's funny. I posted a video and everyone was like, you need to try improv. So I think that's like the next thing. Ben has said improv. Improv is just so wonderful because it's like activating a different mental muscle that a lot of us like in childhood, like child play, like we get to activate these like creative mental muscles. But then in adults, like we really don't get to exercise that mental agility, that free association as much. Ben, I'm curious, like how is your experience with improv been?
It's been, so at the time of recording, actually today will be my 4th class. And it was so interesting what you were mentioning about the building the cathedral, right?
Yeah.
This is one of the first things our improv teacher said was that the improv conversation, you're just laying a brick. You just lay down one brick, the other person lays down a brick. And then here you go, you're building this conversation together. Sometimes we go into these things thinking we have to do all the work. Maybe we're nervous. We start to talk really fast. We overtalk the other person. Maybe we overshare. Maybe we just feel like we have to fill in all of the silence. We jump ahead, right? What am I going to say next? Oh my gosh, how did this go last time? I feel like I was awkward, right? You're in your head. You're trying to future pace, kind of engineer a small talk or a flirt to have a certain outcome. You just want to be liked. Maybe you want to be seen as cool. That's not really the point. It can be a great outcome, perhaps, but not really the point. It's about that connection. And so it's like brick by brick. Right?
You know what's one thing that I want to mention about that brick analogy too? I think I didn't get to fully mention this when we mentioned it earlier on, but part of the concept of the brick too is that bricks are boring. They're dull. They're mundane. But I think that you need to give yourself permission to be dull or to like say an obvious thing. Cause like sometimes you are so funny when you just say the obvious thing that like you're not saying anything creative or wacky. Like the other day I was in the grocery store with it was me and a guy and I like ran up to the olive oil section and both of us were standing there like kind of tapping our chin for like a good long second because there's like tens of oils in front of us. Yeah. And then I just said something very obvious. I was like, I feel like we have too many options here. Yeah. And then both of us just shared a chuckle. It was just such an authentic moment. I didn't say anything groundbreaking. I just made an observation that anyone could have made. But sometimes saying the obvious observation is just funny.
I love that. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I really wanted to talk about this thing where sometimes, we feel like small talk is going to be boring, or we don't want to say the obvious thing, or we don't want to ask the kind of like dull question, sort of a classic first date interview style, right? What do you do for work? Yes. And I'm like, actually be boring for a minute. It's okay. You're just working yourself into the conversation.
Isn't it so funny how like we work up so much, like it is true, genuine fear that we feel. Like it's the same fear as if like a tiger was like coming at us, but it's just walking up to another person. But like, I think that we just, as humans, we just tend to, I think, you know what's funny? I have a best friend who is like so charismatic. I've always looked up to her. And what I realized the difference between us was in college, whenever like a random group would come up to us or vice versa, she always assumed that like they would want to hear from her versus I actually tend to naturally lean a little bit more introvert and socially anxious. I've been working on it, but I tend to lean to more like, oh, they don't remember me. They don't know who I am and they don't want to hear from me. And so if you approach life with that, like they would benefit, like they want to hear from me or like, you know, that kind of charisma, that can really do wonders for you. It just affects the energy in which you show up with.
Absolutely. Because I definitely identify as the more introverted type as well. And isn't
that so funny? Like, how do we end up on the internet?
I don't know.
We're just like extroverted introverts.
No, that is so the truth. But I just, like you got to make it about the connection and then no regrets, right? No coulds,
what's the worst that could happen?
I could have said that. Like, you did the thing and it was really hard. Give yourself credit for that.
Yes, you should be so proud.
All right. How about some topics, some ways people can ask some questions? I'm going to pull from one of your viral videos here.
Oh, sure.
Just ways to reframe a very classic question that you could ask of like, what's the best trip you've ever taken?
Yes.
Something like that. How could we reframe that in a way that is just more, maybe a little bit more easy to answer?
Yes, I think that's just a great way to approach talking to someone is like, how can I make it like easy and comfortable for them? So when we are asking people questions, we kind of don't realize we're actually putting them on the spot, especially how we frame questions. When we ask like, what's the best something? I caught myself doing it earlier. We just like to, we're curious and I'm just like, oh, what's the best, whatever. But you have to think like on the receiving side, especially if you're just meeting someone, you're running through all these things in your head. You're like, is it safe to say how I really feel? Like, what do I actually feel? What is the best? Who am I even? Like, you're like that meme of that woman doing math, you know? Doing math.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lives
You're just
rent
like
free in my mind.
Literally, you're
Love
like, who
that
am I even? Do I watch movies? Let's say, or like The Trip for the example, right? So instead, a very easy way to make it easy for them to answer is instead of asking absolutes, what's the best? What's the worst? What's the whatever? Just ask them a simple, what's the most recent trip you took? Like everyone can remember what's the most recent thing they did.
Yes. Yeah. Such a great reframe. And how can we be like one of your other videos I really like is how we can be more affirming in our conversations. And so offering the flirties a few tips there to be, more like present. I'm listening, right?
Absolutely. And like, can I just say too, like affirming someone else is actually such a low key, like very important part of conversation.
Yeah.
Like when someone else is talking, I think part of it is we're listening, but sometimes we just maybe forget, or if we're not listening, we forget to affirm them back. And it can really feel kind of crappy as the speaker to be like, oh, this person's like not listening to me or they don't care. Best way that you can affirm someone else is affirming. All it is just connecting what someone just said back to them and showing interest in what they're saying. And so a really powerful way to affirm someone is basically, let's say someone's telling you something. They're like, oh, my ex-boyfriend did this. You got to just put yourself in their shoes. There's a reason why they're telling you this. They want you to think something of this situation. Put yourself in their shoes. Think, okay, how would they have felt? And just mirror it back to them. Say, wow, that must have felt so upsetting when your ex-boyfriend did that. And then instantly you've made a connection with that person. They're like, yes, this person gets me and they hear me. And that's the instant way to connect with someone is just like what we were saying, make them feel heard and validated.
Yes. So good. Flirties, if you're not already taking notes, now's the time to take a few notes as we've given you some ways to open these conversations, right? With observations, questions, nonverbal expressions of interest, compliments, how you can be in that conversation, following it up with questions, with reframing, mirroring. And this is so interesting to hear about this, the mirror neuron theory as well. Yeah.
And can I add to that? So let's say you've done the affirming, you put yourself in their shoes and you said, wow, that must have felt so XYZ.
Yeah.
Remember how earlier in this conversation, we said like you have to be interested, not worry about being interesting. I think putting yourself, like doing that active listening, putting yourself in their shoes and thinking, wow, that must have been like very upsetting. That is how you become more interested in what someone else is saying. Like if you've ever been listening to a story from your girlfriend and they're talking about someone that pissed them off, and then before you know it, you're mad at that person who you've never even met. I'm like, you know what? Susan is a bitch. Like that's how you get interested and have a good conversation, is you have to like put yourself in that scenario and become invested. Yeah. And that's how you have fun with conversation. Conversations are just way more fun when you are on the hating Susan board.
Yeah, and small talk, I feel like a lot of the examples at least I've given are right. It's in the grocery store looking at olive oil, in the elevator, or at an improv show. But it could be, oh my gosh, at work, at school, with your friends, with family. I mean, how many times have we been at those family events, the holidays, or something like that, or a party where maybe you don't know a lot of people? How am I gonna get through this?
Right. That is actually such a common one.
Stand in the corner. I can't just hide in the bathroom all night, right?
Yes. While Mima tells the same story for the 10th time.
Oh my God. All right. Tell me again, Mima. Yep. Let's hear each other. How did that
feel? That's so funny.
And then offering the flirties, like you mentioned, that or asking some questions that are a little bit more specific. It gives the brain, like because it's easy to get overwhelmed and nervous for you and for them. So if the questions are a little bit more specific, it gives the brain something to focus on, some follow-up questions that I just like kind of always keep in my back pocket, or if they're describing an event or something at work, school, a vacation, a concert. It's like, how was that? How did that go? Yes. Some very simple follow-up questions, because sometimes people are almost looking for that permission to keep going.
Yes, you're so right. Because then they're like, am I talking too much? Yeah. Like they're like, are they even interested? The follow-up questions are absolutely everything. And I feel like if you can find a way to get your follow-up to really make them feel comfortable enough to share more, that's like the cascade. Like what started out as a simple conversation, it just snowballs. Like you feel more comfortable, they feel more comfortable. And before you know it, they're telling you your whole life story. Like I think a really good tangible one for a lot of people, that I always give this advice to my young dentists out there, because usually we're talking to patients about like traveling. Like the summer is the easiest time for small talk. I love it because you're just like, well, where'd you go this year? Like, what are you doing? There's so much to talk about. And so one easy cascade for you guys to like ask or to follow, just keep it in your back pocket. If you're talking to someone about where they're traveling, ask them, is this your first time or have you been there before? Reason being, if they've been there before, you usually get like one of two answers. The really common answer is, yes, my family goes there like all the time. Like, oh yeah, like we love that place. And then you can ask them like, oh, like what are some good recommendations? Like maybe I'll go in the future, or like people love talking about their like nostalgic memories. And so that's one option. But let's say this person's like, oh, I've like never been there before. The conversation doesn't have to stop there. Then you can ask them like, oh, well, what drew you to it? And then you talk about like their interests and their hobbies. Like both of them, what started out as such a simple question about travel becomes you learn about their hobbies, their family, their traditions, all of that.
Yeah, and someone that's going to be open and interested in just going there with you.
Yes.
It's going to naturally start to evolve there. Like not everyone will, and that's okay. You know, maybe it is a simple like, so like kind of cold out there today.
Yes, that will happen.
That will happen. And that's totally okay. And just to go back to the grocery store for a moment, like, if that conversation had gone a little bit more from there, right? It's not really about the olive oil.
No,
That's just the way to start it.
Yes, exactly. Like, let's say like we were back in the store, I would probably make some joke about how I'm like, yeah, my husband's like waiting for me and like in the line right now. They're like literally, I could see them like waiting for me to get the olive oil. Like there's just so much to build upon. Like it's just, it doesn't have to be anything mind blowing.
That's true. Were you in my line at Trader Joe's yesterday? That happens.
Oh my gosh, really?
All the time. Yes, all the time where there's a couple. And honestly, sometimes it's the man. I mean, speaking like a heterosexual couple here for the example, sometimes it's the guy, sometimes it's the girl, where I feel like it's just one person and they're like, oh no, wait, we got more stuff coming.
Yes.
And then someone comes running from the aisle. Wait, I forgot a few things.
Yes. No, we are like that. Hey, at least it was me going. My husband's like way slower than me. Sorry, Jimmy. But like, I'm like hustling. I'm like running. So yes, we are that couple.
Yeah. All right. Let's offer the flirties now a few examples for how we can close these conversations, how we can exit them and even set ourselves up to maybe have another one if it seems like it's becoming a little flirty, if there's maybe some expression of interest there, right? Like, do we just say, thanks, nice talking, bye?
Honestly, you know what's so funny? That has totally happened to me before too.
Yeah.
I think it all depends on like reading their interest. Like I almost feel like you just have a gut instinct with humans. Like when you know that you want to keep something going.
Yeah.
So you know what? I actually think that the way that you ended it with the guy at the improv thing was so perfect. Like a very non-committal, like, hey, like I hope to see you around again. And I think that like one thing you can do that's really powerful, people find callbacks to be very funny. Like people love so like if let's say I'm talking to a patient, usually a typical flow is like we talk about their travels, their weather, whatever. Then we talk about the boring stuff, the teeth. Then I have to leave the room somehow, right? So when I'm ready to like end my set, then usually I'll say something like, okay, like, well, this was so great. Best of luck on your trip. Well, now recently I've been talking about my future honeymoon in Japan. So usually I'll be like, okay, next time I see you, like I'll show you some pictures from the trip and I want to see your pictures too. Okay. Like that's how you lay up the next appointment or day.
Fantastic. Yeah, because this is a great way to close is you reference something from your conversation. And that's going to like what you have to look forward to in the future, like sort of what's coming next. It gives people like, oh, mirroring is coming up again. I heard what you had to say. I was invested in the conversation. And you're also giving yourself something to talk about next time. You have a way to pick it up.
Yes.
And you're from scratch.
You're creating like a connection where you're like, exactly. You're not starting from scratch. You're like, okay, we have something to move on from. So like, it's not going to be awkward or anything like that. We're already connected. Exactly.
Yeah. And I want to offer one more tip here. We've been talking about storytelling without specifically mentioning it, but how like the olive oil example or at the dentist's office talking about vacations or trips, like talk about yourself, right?
Yes.
It's all good. You can do this without being super vulnerable, exposing yourself, being really personal. We wouldn't advocate for that with a stranger, with someone you don't know, but you can definitely talk about yourself. And I would like us to get more in the habit of that.
Yes. I think that when you're approaching, like for the situation of approaching, maybe let's say like dates or if you're going to flirt with someone, I think it's helpful to have in the back of your mind almost like an idea of like a personal, or I mean, it doesn't have to be that personal, but it's almost like personal branding. Like have like a story, something that you're willing and excited to share with someone and talk about with someone else. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. Like having something ready to talk about in there, like a story.
Yes. Have a few things. It could even be just like 2, 3. All good. Yeah. Like, it's okay if you repeat yourself.
Oh my God. I have like the same thing. My poor hygienists and assistants, they're like, there she goes again, talking about this. Yeah. It's like really funny.
Oh my gosh. This has been Dr. Connie Wang. So much fun having you on Flirtation today for really part 2 of our conversation. I feel this one really focused more on small talk and connection. My feature on your podcast is more about flirting and connection. So definitely check out both. Are there any final thoughts or parting words for the flirties today?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? We've talked about this so much in the episode, but what I want you guys to walk away from this episode with is just maybe one tangible tip. Think about one thing we said, just put it out there and practice. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I didn't get a degree in any of this. I'm just like a practitioner of it. I like to practice it, right?
Yes.
And so you can do the same. And what's going to happen, I don't know anything about you or who you are listening right now, but I know for a fact what's going to happen is that the more you practice this muscle, the better you're going to get, the better you're going to feel. And if you do this, let's say for like, maybe a year is a long time, but you do this for like 6 months, a month or something, you're going to look back and be like unrecognizable. Like do not underestimate the ways in which this can totally transform your life and how you feel about yourself.
I agree. Sometimes the flirties have homework, and this is one of those episodes. Maybe give yourself.
That's so me giving them homework.
I will co-sign the homework.
Yeah,
30 days.
30 days. I love that. A 30-day challenge. We should so collab on something like that, like a 30-day like flirt and small talk challenge.
Ooh, all right. We're going to take that offline, as they say.
Yes.
I would so be down. And they've got great resources now between our two conversations together, all of my content, and then yours too, of course. So where can the Flirties find you and follow you?
Yes. So, oh my God, I think I'm Dr. Connie Wang. Wait, can I just check this
You
really
are.
quick?
You're at Dr. Connie Wang. Yes.
Okay, on both TikTok and Instagram?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm almost positive.
Much.
Yes.
Okay. If not, we can do it again. It's okay. Thank you so much. I honestly had so much fun during this conversation today. I was so excited, and this has been such a great time. Wait, can I just say also, you are such a good question asker. Like,
oh my gosh.
It is just such a joy to converse with you because you ask the best questions. You're so calming and insightful, and like you just genuinely have a fun time chatting with you. So thank you for this experience.
Thank you. It was just really amazing and lovely to share the space for you. Who knew we could make a conversation about small talk? Absolutely fly by, y'all. If
Literally.
we can do it, I know y'all can do it. 30 days and maybe a future challenge coming your way.
Yes. So if you want to find me on social media, my handles on both Instagram and TikTok are at Dr. Connie Wang. And I have a podcast called Just a Quick Pinch. It's for young healthcare providers just to learn how to communicate a little bit more confidently and feel more confident in your own skin in your first beginning years of practice.
Amazing. Dr. Connie Wang, thank you so much for being on the show today. Until we talk again, I'll see you soon.
Yay. Thank you.
All right, that's a wrap on this episode of Flirtations, the small talk episode of the program with Dr. Connie Wang. Dr. Wang, thank you so much for being on the show today, sharing so much with myself and the Flirties about the art of in the moment connection, the art, the skill of small talk, and how it can transform your life, your flirts, and your dates. Some links below in the show notes for this episode. And thank you to the Flirties for listening, for tuning in, for streaming, or perhaps for watching on YouTube, wherever you are in the world. I really appreciate you being a part of the show, taking in the conversations, the messages, the interviews, all that good stuff, and then applying it to your everyday life, to your flirts and to your dates as we practice the art of connection. Yes, that's what we're doing here. So thank you for being here. Please rate, review. Have I said that? Yeah, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. If you have, thank you. And then share this episode or another favorite episode with a friend, a family member, someone you want to share some BFE, Big Flirt energy with. All right, that's going to do it for me here, Benjamin, the Flirt Coach, signing off officially at Flirt Headquarters Flirty. Happy flirting.